welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we have a gameplay of a game that'll be up on Kickstarter a little later this month. We have Earth Rising. Now this is the game where you have 20 years, which is 20 turns, to save the world from complete ecological devastation. It's not some big bad, it's not some supervillain that's causing this to happen. These are all real challenges that we're facing as a world society today. And it's a really interesting concept. I think from what I've played so far, I've really enjoyed the way it's been executed. So we're gonna get down to the table, and you can see right now I'm actually in the middle of filming this gameplay, but we're gonna get down to the table here and I'm gonna show you Earth Rising in just a moment. Before I do that, I do wanna mention our sponsor, Board Game Co. Now this is a great website where you can buy, sell, and trade games. They have a great selection of games to choose from. If you're just looking to build out your collection, you wanna get more games in your collection, they have all kinds of stuff over there, a little bit of stuff for everybody. Alex over at Board Game Co. is really good at figuring out what the new hotness is going to be, what the next hotness is going to be, what the previous hotness was, and he has all that right there in his warehouse for you to buy from him. So then on top of that, he's always looking to get more games in, right? So he will buy games from you. He has a thriving used game market over there at Board Game Co. So be sure to check that out if you're looking to get rid of some games. And if you think maybe trading is where what you're looking to do right now, then go over there, check out their trade system. The way it works is if you have a Board Game Geek account, you can create a trade list on Board Game Geek. Then you go to Board Game Co., drop in your Board Game Geek username, and it'll look at that trade list, compare it to their stock, and build a custom trade list right there on their website. Makes it very easy to use. If you do check them out, click on the link in the description below so they know I sent you over there. Board Game Co. makes it easy to buy, sell, and trade your way into a better collection. All right, without anything else, let's get down to the game topper and we're gonna play Earth Rising. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna walk you through how we have set up Earth Rising. All right, so I do wanna point out that this obviously is a prototype, so lots of stuff is likely to change. One of the main things is you can see how the board, has these pieces kind of hanging off of it, looks kind of clunky. Well, the board's gonna be a round board in the final version, and so you can see that these have the rounded cutout there, so they will fit right up against the board nicely when you have the final version of it. So I just wanted to point that out. There's 6 different sectors, all right, 6 different ecological sectors here. We've got energy, we have industry over here, you've got agriculture is green, infrastructure is blue, culture is purple, and politics is red. Now all of these have very minor and major burdens that they're dealing with. And not only that, but they're all linked together in some way. So you can see for energy here, we've got the minor burden of climate change, but then over here, the major burden of climate change. I know it's hard to see. You know what? Let me adjust this. There we go. So the minor burden of climate change here for energy, major burden of climate change over here for politics. All right, so these two are linked. All right, and then you can see politics has this minor burden of biodiversity loss. Meanwhile, over on culture, that's the major burden. All right, and so there's that kind of linking of these different burdens all the way around the board like that. These black tokens are strain, basically the strain that these burdens are putting on the ecology of the world, the world in general. And so every minor burden starts with 2 strain, every major burden starts with 1 strain. There's no maximum strain that can go on the major burdens, but the minor burdens have a maximum strain of 5. And until they reach 5, they always have to be equal to or greater than the amount of strain on the major burdens. Each sector starts out with 2 unsustainable practices. And so, for instance, here with energy, we have centralized distribution and we have energy inefficiency. All of these unsustainable practices also have a sustainable version. So energy conservation is a sustainable version of energy inefficiency. And then for centralized distribution, you've got decentralized networks for the sustainable version. Every practice, whether it's sustainable or unsustainable, basically takes 2 population out of poverty. All right, so all this population you see here in the center of the board, that's the population of the world that's currently in poverty, and you can see there's population around the board that's not in poverty right now. All of that population in poverty is going to cause more strain when you get to a certain point in the turn. In addition, all of these unsustainable practices will also cause more strain when you get to a certain point in the turn. I believe those are steps 3 and 4. There's let's see, I believe five steps, and we'll walk through it when we start playing the game. So you can see you have a stack of these practices. All right, so these are all for the energy sector. You got coal industry, overproduction, biomass converters, gas industry, and nuclear waste storage. And then they all, of course, like I said, have the sustainable version. So one of the things you're going to be trying to do is to discontinue the unsustainable versions of these practices, and then also enact the sustainable versions. All right, sustainable. So remember how I said that these 2 are going to cause strain on the system. If I had a sustainable one out here, well, these 2 would cause 2 strain, but this would be -1 strain, so actually only 1 strain would happen. And so that's one reason you want to get the sustainable practices out. In this deck, we have all kinds of social influence cards and basically they correspond. So here's one that I've already drawn, and we'll go over there and see exactly what's going on over there in a second. But so this one is for the infrastructure. We see the blue, so it's for the infrastructure sector. The non-sustainable version of this is centralized metropolises, and then the sustainable version, zero carbon communities. All right, so all of these cards match the sustainable, non-sustainable pairs that you'll find. And so you're going to be using these cards to disband the practices or to create sustainable practices. And these are all the different actions you can take. You take 4 actions per turn. And we'll cover those here in a second. Also in this deck is are cards called Status Quo Strikes. There's 3 of them in the deck right now. There's I believe 41 other cards in there right now, because 4 of them are out already with my characters. So there's 41 regular cards and 3 Status Quo Strikes. Also, up in the discard pile are 3 more Status Quo Strikes cards. So right now they're not in there. However, at some point I am going to shuffle this deck, and then I'll have 6 Status Quo Strikes cards in there. And when Status Quo Strikes shows up, it really can mess you up. The first game I played of this, I was doing really well, and then I got my first Status Quo Strikes card, my SQS card, and it was all downhill from there. So you really have to prepare for them, anticipate them, and then try to kind of circumvent the damage. So let's see. The other actions I can take: clean up 4 strain from any ecological burden. And that can be 4 from one ecological burden, or 1 from 4 different ones, or any combination. Give another player one of your cards. All right, I'm going to be playing with 2 characters today, so that actually will be an action that I will use. If you're playing with just 1 character, not so much. You can draw an additional card into your hand as an action, and then you can choose to reshuffle the discard pile back into the social influence deck if you know that you're about to get an SQS card. Maybe you want to do that. Now, granted, that's going to be just shuffling the deck up, and you might end up with the SQS card anyway, but if you know for sure you're about to get it, what's the harm in taking that chance? All right, so here are the 2 characters we're going to be playing today. We've got the Eco Investor. All right, you can see whenever drawing, you may draw 1 extra card and look at it, then either give it to another player or place it at the bottom of the deck. So this is a good way that I could possibly avoid the SQS cards. I'm fairly certain that would apply to them. That it doesn't say, with the exception of those. So I'm pretty sure I can use this to try to avoid those and keep popping them back to the bottom of the deck. For each sustainable infrastructure practice, you may draw and decide for 1 extra card. So that gives him even more incentive to build sustainable practices in his sector. Then we've got the activist here. All right, and you can see As an action, you may place a protest token on any unsustainable practice. This allows players to flip the unsustainable practice instead of disbanding it. For each sustainable culture practice, you may place one extra protest token. So normally when you disband one of the unsustainable practices, you just discard it off the board. And while that does help, because, obviously if this goes away, now I'm only getting one strain added to the burdens here. But even unsustainable practices do help pull people out of poverty. And so by not having a unsustainable practice, or not having a practice here, because each practice supports two population, these population will end up going back into poverty. And so that is going to just cause more strain. So with the activist, if I'm able to then just flip it straight to this instead of having to disband it and then bring in a new sustainable practice, I can just flip it straight over. These people never have to go away. I now am not only not losing or not gaining a strain because of this, but this is actually canceling out a strain as well. So now I'm at 0 for this sector right now whenever it comes time to add strain based on practices. All right, so the first thing that happens every turn, and we'll have the eco investor go first, is we draw 2 cards. All right, so he's got another energy card there and then a politics card. So one thing, let's see, we've got biomass converters and nuclear waste storage. Neither of those are the energy unsustainable practices over here, so we can't disband either of those. What we could do is build a sustainable practice here to build outside of your sector. So his sector, like I said, he's blue, so he's infrastructure. To build outside of your sector, you have to use 2 cards of that color. He also does have a blue, so he could do that in his. Oh, and actually, let's see, this is centralized metropolises right there. Oh, but you know what? Why don't we wait? He won't disband that yet because we'll use the activist to protest there. That way we can just flip it when on his next turn. All right, so right now though, let's go ahead. Do we want to do hydropower developments or nuclear development? Either one's fine. They're identical in terms of game mechanisms. So we'll just put out nuclear development. All right, so this goes here. Now, because we don't have any more, like when we manage to clear this off from strain, we can then use an energy card to flip it over, and that will actually create more space for population, right? But as long as this is still out, we don't have it, so we don't gain, because this token right here actually would allow an additional population. Additional 2 population, I should say. So for right now, though, all it's going to do is cancel out some strain, but hopefully soon we can get to where we can flip out. We can transform this sector into being able to hold even more population. So he's got 2 actions left. I don't see any reason for him to give either of these cards. He could draw a card, but we also could start pulling some strain off of cards and getting them ready. Oh, in fact, you know what? In a player's in a character's own sector, they can transform their sector for free if it's free of strain. So we can use the action to clean up 4 strain from any ecological burden. Let's go ahead and just completely clean up his sector. So that's 3, and we can take 1 more strain from somewhere. So let's take it. We'll take it from here. And the reason for that, I'll show you here 1 second. So that's his 3rd action. Now, a free action in your own sector is to transform it like this. All right, so now there's 2 more spaces there. On his next turn, when he creates 0 carbon communities, we'll get 2 more population in there. So he still has 1 more action. Oh, what I was going to tell you was to be able to convert or transform this, the major burdens on either side also have to be taken care of. So that nitrogen phosphorus loading minor burden for infrastructure cannot be transformed until biodiversity loss, major burden here, and nitrogen phosphorus loading, major burden over in agriculture is handled. So for his final action, let's draw one card. That way he'll have a full hand at the beginning of his next turn. And so he has a industry card. So after a player takes their actions, next up we have the strain phase based off of meeples. This is step 3. For every 3 meeples, you have 1 strain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strain. It always starts at the player's sector. So nitrogen phosphorus loading. And then we'll work around the board in clockwise order. So, and now if you look down here, you got 2 here already. So you basically have to keep it as equal as possible, with the minor burden having the most until it gets to 5, at which point everything else goes to the major burden. So that goes there. All right, so next, strain is going to occur based off of the practices that are in place. All right, so again, starting with his sector, he has 2 unsustainable practices, so 2 strain. Now here, 2 unsustainable, but 1 sustainable, so only 1 strain gets put out. Now, you might be asking, what's the big deal with the strain? Well, besides the fact that it prevents you from transforming sectors like I did here, it also, so let's say climate change here and climate change here combined have 15 strain, then an ecological collapse occurs, which is going to happen during this game, so we'll cover it when it does. All right, and so then the calendar year changes, and we're in 2022. We've got 20 years to get everything fixed, to make some positive changes here and save the world from total ecological collapse. All right, so now to begin the activist turn. Oh, and I totally forgot to use his ability. We'll make sure we use it from this point forward. All right, so draw 2 cards. Oh, good. We've got some culture card, which is what she specializes in. And then we've got a politics card as well. So let's do this first, all right? So right here, ethically sourced goods. We don't have the non-sustainable version out, which means we can go straight to the sustainable version. So ethically sourced goods, and we will put it right here. All right, so that's 1 action. And actually, she'll go ahead and she will take 4 strain from here. And so that's a second action. As a free action, she can then transform this. And now, because there are 6 or 3 practices in play, there can be a total of 6 population being handled in the culture sector, and that represents that segment of the population being pulled out of poverty. So now she has 2 actions left. As an action, you may place a protest token on any unsustainable practice, okay? And for each sustainable culture practice, you may place 1 extra. So we can place 2 right now. 1 is definitely going to be on centralized metropolises. Oh, this, by the way, goes face down in the discard pile. Oh, and look, we have anti-environmentalism here, so we'll go ahead and protest that as well in hopes that we get an additional red card so we can then flip it. So that's her 3rd action. Her 4th action will be to give this card to the eco-investor here. All right, so now meeple strain, population strain, poverty strain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, starting in culture. 5. So you can see it didn't make it all the way around to infrastructure that time, because we actually are getting the population sort of taken care of here. So that's good. And then we got to do the practice, or the strain from practices. Starting with culture, it'll be 1. And then here we get 2. And you can see biodiversity loss is now maxed out with 5 right there. So actually, it should have been still that is same effect. It should have come here first and then there, but now it's maxed out with 5. Just one goes here. Two over here. Chemical pollution's maxed out, as is water withdrawal over there. Okay, now see how nitrogen phosphorus loading over there has 5, and there's no major burden above it, right? Because we flipped it down to here. If nitrogen phosphorus loading ever ended with more than 5, then there would be a recession, and this would flip up and go back up there as a burden again because we weren't able to handle the strain of what was happening. So definitely something we want to keep our eye on. Okay, and move on to the next year. So we're going to draw 2 cards. And let's see, we get these 2 green cards, which now here's where the issue we're at right here. We have a 5 card hand limit. All right, so I think I'll discard this because we're protesting anti-environmentalism right now. These belong to him, so we definitely want to keep those. So having these 2 green cards, we're going to want to keep those 2 agriculture cards since we need to do anything in agriculture when we're not green ourselves. All right, which by the way would be this guy. I'm just using the back of his card, the ecologist. I'm using the back of his card for the action reference. Okay, I think the very first thing we do is we're going to go with centralized metropolises. We're going to convert that because of the protest into 0 carbon communities. And then, so that's one action, and then we'll go ahead and also do social services protections. And so that brings 2 more population out of poverty. I'm going to give anti-environmentalism to the activist because she has another politics card, and so she can deal with this on her turn. So he's got these left, and I think for the final thing, he's going to take some strain off the board. 2 from here, 2 from here, because he's really got a vested interest in getting the major burden taken care of over there. That way he can get his minor burden onto the board. I keep forgetting about his special ability. We got to remember that. I'm really bad with special ability. Y'all go back and watch my previous videos. Special abilities are always something that slip my mind for some reason. Okay, so now 4 strain from the population. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this is actually going to subtract 1 strain. We have 2 sustainable and 1 unsustainable. So 1 strain gets subtracted. Here we just gained 1. Ooh, but look at that. It's at 5 now. 2 here. All right, and then we've got 1 strain here. So look, we've got 7 and 5. We're at 12 strain for climate change right now. We got to do something about that real soon. Over here, we've got 2 strain being added, and then 2 strain out here. And we're at 11 strain for water withdrawal, so something else to keep an eye on. All right, and that's 2024. All right, so now back to the activist and draw 2 cards. All right. Oh, nice. You got 2 culture cards. One of them's out there right now. This is really good. All right. Yeah, this is good. All right. So we'll put these right here for the moment. We'll come back to those. First thing she's going to do is deal with anti-environmentalism. So because it's being protested, we can now just flip it, and you can see it is now natural capital accounting. So as an action, she will go ahead and protest high red meat diet, industrial chemical farming over here, since we can have the eco-investor deal with that on his next turn. So that's 2 actions. So next up, she will discard high red meat diet, and since it's being protested, flip it right over to plant-based diet. That was 3 actions, and I think we should definitely pull some strain off the board. Now, good thing is this is now handling the strain on its own, or it can handle 1 strain at least. But But you know, we'll do 1 here, just so it's not at 5. 2, 3. Yeah, let's just take them all from here. 4. Oh, or should I take any from... Water withdrawal is only at 11. I think we're okay. I think that was the right move. We'll do that. Okay. All right, so we, again, have 4 from population. 4. And then -1 here for practices. This is a wash. 1 good, 1 bad. Gain 1 here. So that puts chemical pollution at 11 strain now. Over here we gain 2. Oof. We're definitely going to have to deal with water withdrawal on this next go. Because now it's at... Oh no. Oh no. Wait a minute. I miscounted before. Oh, we're going to have... Okay. Well, I guess it's good for y'all to see. It's bad for me. This one gets 2. And then -1 here. All right, so now we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Oh, no, I'm good. I'm good. I did count right. 14. Whew, I was counting wrong when I was thinking I had more than 15. We're good. We're at 14. We definitely have to deal with it, though. All right, moving on to 2025. All right, so let's remember his ability. Whenever drawing, you may draw 1 extra card and look at it and then either give it to another player or place it at the bottom of the deck. All right, so he draws his first 2 cards. Oh, status quo strikes. Okay, he's going to draw an additional one, look at it. He can give that to another player or put it at the bottom of the deck. She doesn't really need... Yeah, we'll just throw that at the bottom of the deck for now. We don't need that. All right, well, he gets this. Lots of farming stuff going on right now. All right, so we draw 1 influence card, +1 for each sustainable +1 for each sustainable infrastructure practice of this color. All right, so these are austerity cutbacks. Well, you can see we have 2 sustainable in the blue, so we actually have to draw 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. All right. If the practice drawn is already unsustainable, add 2 strain to that sector. If it is already sustainable, disband it and remove it from the board. If it cannot be placed on the board, draw another card and apply its effects. All right, so let's look at this first one. Carbon credits. All right, so it's not out there. So what happens is we put the unsustainable one out there. All right, and then we have overfishing. That's going out there. And then we've got population growth. So that will have to go out there. All right, and then all these go in the discard pile. Fortunately, we do get to draw an additional influence card and add it to our hand. All right. So you can see how that immediately has got some sectors in pretty bad shape. So let's see if we can do some damage control here. Well, first off, for sure, we will discard these 2 in order to flip industrial chemical farming. Then he's going to give monoculture farming to the activist, and she'll be able to flip that on her turn. And I think he's going to use 2 actions to really get some of this strain under control. So first off, let's take 4 just from water withdrawal right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that puts water withdrawals total at 9 right now. Chemical pollution is at 11. He could tackle, yeah, so see, we're going to take 4 more here. 1, 2, but kind of got to do it from both because they're both at 5 right now. You got to keep them equalized. So, all right. So that kind of helps get both of those, both water withdrawal and chemical pollution under control. All right, so 4 population, 4. And then based off of practices, -1. That's equal. All right, oops, that should be there. So that's equal. That's equal. This one gains 1. This gains 3. So 2 will go there. 1 will go there. This only gains 1. So making some progress there. Okay. All right. So at any point we can shuffle that discard pile back in, but I think we're still okay. We just got through our first status quo strikes without too much damage. I mean, I was able to mitigate it pretty well. So I think we're going to keep going on the deck as it currently is. Also, we're now at 2026. All right. So activist turn, draw 2. Greenhouse gas emissions, low wage jobs. Right off the bat, let's do the protest thing. And she can actually do 3 protests now. So we know we want one of them to be the monoculture farming because she has that. All right, and so then I guess we'll just go ahead and put the other 2 right here on her own area since, or no, maybe it's a better plan because she's got her area fairly under control. We'll put these in the areas that are struggling with strain. Like that alliteration there. We'll do it over here in the energy sector. And we'll put them both on both of these because we don't know which one we might see first. All right, and then she's going to turn the monoculture farming into polyculture farming over here where she's protesting. And she's going to give the greenhouse gas emissions to the eco investor. So that's 3 actions. And for her 4th action, she'll take 1, 2 strain from there, 3, 4. All right, so 4 strain from population. We're at 14 now for chemical pollution. Ooh, this might be bad. This is going to be bad. Well, all right, well, let's do this. So that's a wash. That's a wash. +1 here. Oh, that's 15 right there. And then +3 over here. 1, 2, 3. -1 up here, so that's progress. -1 over here. All right, but now check it out, y'all. You're going to get to see an ecological collapse. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 15. First thing we do is remove 5 strain token from the minor and the major version of this burden. So obviously this one ends up getting cleared off, except of course it's going to equalize. So some of this comes down until, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's see. So ecological collapse, what's that? That looks like flooding or something is going to happen in the industry sector. The idea here is everything's connected, right? So it could have just easily been culture, depending on what I drew. So it goes in the leftmost section of the sector. So, or is it leftmost free? The leftmost vacant circle. All right. So it goes right here. That population gets knocked back into the poverty. And this circle, this space cannot be built on for the rest of the game. It can't hold anything, not population, not a practice, nothing. And then we have this that adds 1 every time, 1 strain every time I have to add strain from population. Cool. So that was a great 2026, y'all. Keep that in mind as we're getting closer. 2027. All right, so the Eco Investor gets another, that's great, another blue card and an energy card, all right? First 2 turns for him. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's don't forget his ability. He can draw 2 additional cards, and decide to give them to the activist or put them at the bottom. Oh, yes. Yes, she's going to get both of these for sure. This one because she's currently protesting it, and this one because it's her sector anyway. All right, so now first thing he's going to do is he's going to give the activist this so that she'll be able to do something about energy inefficiency next time. I think he's going to hit this once. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then do the same here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then he has 1 action left. You know what? Let's just let him keep working on strain. We'll do it here. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So we have 5 now because of that ecological collapse. All right, and then -1 for the practices. It's a wash. That's a wash. +1 here. +3 here. And -1 here. All right, so the activist is going to draw 2. But she'll discard that industry card. She's going to keep this agriculture and discard low-wage jobs, the politics card. So I'll show you why. First off, she will use an action, these 2 cards. These 2 cards for energy inefficiency. She's protesting it. So it now flips. That's going to be helpful for sure. Then she will take 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was her second action. Third action to flip over a sector to flip over a sector that doesn't belong to you, you have to discard 1 card. So discard an agriculture card, and now, boom, that's flipped over. And now you can see there's enough practices here to hold 2 more population. And that means now the eco-investor will be able to get his minor burden taken care of and flipped into the center here. So that was her third action. She has 1 more. She's actually just going to go ahead and take 4 strain off of this, just so it's not, or 1, 2, 3, and we'll take the 4th one from here. Because otherwise she was going to be in trouble. All right, so now 5 from population. So 1, 2. Because what would have happened is it would have had more than 5, and we would have had to flip that back out. We would have lost population. It would have been a whole thing. So then that's a wash for practices. Wash -1 here. That's good. 3 here. Industry is just not keeping up. -1 over there. 2028. All right, so it's a pretty good place to stop. We're doing pretty good. Definitely better than the last time I played. I think at this point, it only really took 1 status quo strikes to really throw me into a nosedive. I feel like I weathered that one pretty well. So we are going to take a break here. Be sure to come back and watch the second part, which should be, I think I can fit the rest of the game into a single part. So it will be a total of a 2-part series here without much of a problem. Hope you're enjoying it so far. Be sure to give me a thumbs up if you did. Be sure to subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss any future videos. And be sure to check the link in the description below for when this is going up on Kickstarter. I believe the end of April, April 24th, April 26th, the exact date and information is in the description. And until next time, if you're bored online, board offline.